I'd say it's probably the late 1980s when we first started to see the improvements that started in early '83. I mean, we had good leadership. That was the first thing, that had a guiding vision of where the railroad was going to go. And we lined up behind that vision and proceeded accordingly.
We started seeing the change. We started seeing, I mean, shortly after '83, the understanding by the management or the upper management that our staffs were inadequate in size, our staffs were inadequate in training and educating them and preparing them for future, or development training, I guess, for the management staff. So, a great investment went into that as part of building us up for the future.
They strived very hard to get departments to work together and communicate with each other. And I think that really pulled us out of a slump.
Decisions were made with the business in mind, what was best for the bottom line. And I think that's where I started seeing some of the changes.
The momentum was just starting to begin with Metro-North. And you had some new people with some exciting ideas, and we finally had some money to do things.
A great leadership role was Don Nelson, in my opinion. He just exuded leadership. I think he was one of the big players back then who really turned us around.
At the same time, in the mid to late 1980s, we had a little bit of adrenaline rush when we had projects that started to come to fruition. The Upper Harlem electrification in 1984 was a proud occasion for many of us. The major electrification of 25 miles of new railroad. And then finally, even in 1986, when we finally completed the 60-cycle conversion on the New Haven line and got a reliable source of power for the New Haven line, that was also a major achievement.
In '86, the M3s arrived on the Harlem line. In '87, we started to get the first of now was a whole new generation of locomotive-hauled coaches on the Hudson, the Harlem, and the New Haven side. So we started to get rid of the worst of the old equipment and replace it with brand new equipment.
Those cars began to come online then. We began to see an improvement of the fleet just because we had more cars and they were new cars. And as a warranty car, somebody else was maintaining them.
We started reducing the number of diesel-hauled conventional trains and replacing them with brand new shiny electric MU cars. And that went a long ways towards improving customer relations with Metro-North and customer satisfaction. The reliability of the service became much better. People could actually start setting their watches by our trains to a certain degree. Our on-time performance began improving dramatically at that point.
With the new team that we had there, with their accountability, they had the hands-on approach where they were all over the place. So that old cliche about the element of surprise keeps people on their toes. I think that, everybody wanted to do their job and do it well.
We had leaders that had a vision. Don Nelson had a 10-year plan, a 15-year plan, and it's been continued right now. We had Dick Kerner. He was our Chief Mechanical Officer, Vice President of Operations. We had Ed Whitney. We had Don Meiskens. We had Eddie McDonald, John McNulty. They all were instilling all of this in us, a vision for the future, and teaching us to look ahead and to take their places. And it has progressed.
The people that were hired, for whatever reason, there were core values. Again, they worked. They wanted to make a change. It may have been partly the times we were in. I don't know. But we felt like we were working toward a goal.
You weren't just constrained to the stereotype jobs anymore, which were secretary or labor or whatever. It opened up. You saw a lot more women in management, and particularly in operations. We made some wonderful breakthroughs in terms of getting women in operations.
The word was being spread to the employees in the field that they were no longer considered the enemy, that they were part of the fabric that was becoming the new Metro-North Railroad. And that was fostered mostly by the Vision 2003.
And part of it was that people saw there were opportunities for themselves, not just to communicate, but that they would be listened to and something would happen and that would give them maybe even a job opportunity.
We put together training programs that were more customer service friendly, and to give the employees a better perspective on the importance of what customers mean to the railroad and bottom line to their paychecks.
We started to look at increasing ridership, providing not just better quality service, but also more service. Things like the Upper Hudson line, where you only had 3 trains a day that came through from Poughkeepsie, and infrequent shuttle service to Croton Harmon. And now, and within a few years, we were able to convert all of the peak service pretty much to through service, start putting in express service from the Upper Hudson, start putting in through service off-peak and weekends.
The on-time performance and the reliability of the service improved greatly in the first 5 years that Metro-North was around. And, you know, the trains ran so much better. The type of complaints that we were getting, the type of phone calls that we were getting were changing. People, you know, it wasn't people calling up who had to ride the train because they had no other way to go. There were people calling up because they wanted to ride the train.
A simple thing like more timetables. I remember getting catching hell if I gave out more than one timetable to a customer. You could only give out one at a time. Now, customer can come by and pick up 50 of the things, you know what I'm saying?
People started seeing a change in the service. They seemed happier. They weren't as, I'd say, vocal on the phones. We were able to handle most of the calls without people really hanging up on the customer service reps.
In the mid to late 80s, we finally took control of, you know, large chunks of the Hudson line, the Harlem line, and the New Haven line. Not completely, but it grew.
In '93, we opened up the control center in GCT on the 6th floor, which took over the towers from Mott Haven into Grand Central.
We were operating with 2 control systems. In, I would say 1997 or 98, we consolidated both. That's when we had one control system where you could walk down and see, you know, the big board with, you know, all the rail traffic controllers, all 10 rail traffic controllers there, and one control center. That was really kind of the big point of the consolidation of CTC.
My next assignment was I came down to Grand Central Terminal. That's when they wanted to clean up the terminal. And that was a real eye-opener. New tenants came in, it's like an old neighborhood that they start to clean up. People wanted to be here. People were coming to see these new shops. And therefore, there's a saying that people don't litter in a cathedral. That's what started happening with Grand Central.
Down on Track 100, we tried to promote an attitude that, you know, you have to put your name on a project. You know, when you're done, you want to be proud of what you did. So when you put it out there, you know, if someone said, you know, who did this, you know, you proudly say, you know, I did, or, you know, we did.
And we also started to look at the actions of our employees and where are our people getting hurt, how are they getting hurt. And so a lot of the programs like Priority One started. And as I said, we communicated better on a regular basis so that people could interact, have an exchange of ideas and opinions about how things should be going in the safety part of Metro-North, the safety world.
I do remember one New Year's Eve when Don Nelson came in with his wife, and he was like very excited, and he said, "We broke the $64 million. We broke the 64 million ride number," and he was thrilled to death that we had gotten our ridership up to the point where we had broken 64 million. And I just remember that moment because he was so thrilled.